Hey everyone, it's Andy here. I'm just going to give a quick update today on some of the challenges around the pandemic unemployment program and especially the 2020 extension. This is affecting millions of unemployed or Americans who've lost income, and it's really causing a lot of heartache. I'm seeing a lot of comments across my YouTube channel, my website, savingtoinvest.com, and my social media. And it's unfortunate that this program, which is unique in the sense that it was designed specifically for people who don't get regular unemployment or don't qualify for regular unemployment, um, which is about 20 million people as a response to the COVID crisis. They, at this point, if they've exhausted their benefits as of the end of the last program, which ended in December 26th, that was funding under the CARES Act. The COVID relief bill was from December 27th for further 11 weeks. People who had exhausted their benefits under the CARES Act or who have ran out of benefits in the last few weeks are finding right now they can't even file a claim or reactivate their existing claim, and which means they also miss out on the $300 extra FPUC payment that is part of the COVID relief bill extension. So combined with this, all these factors have made this a very challenging rollout, and I'll discuss a little bit about some of the challenges, some of the new requirements that are causing this issue, and then sort of how states are progressing with this and when payments can come. If you like this information, find it useful, please hit the like button, and you can always subscribe to this channel as well to get the latest updates. So just to give you some context, I just want to show you how the PUA program fits into the overall uh, unemployment programs that are out there. And you can see here I've divided it by the sort of vertical red line at the end of December, which separates what was funded under the CARES Act and then what's funded under what they call the Continuing Assistance Act, which was part of the COVID relief bill that Trump signed before he left the White House. So the PUA program sort of is ended up becoming one of the largest programs just because it targets such a diverse group of people who don't qualify for regular UI, PEUC, or EB. Those were extensions, really. The top three were really designed for people who were normal working people who had W-2s that contributed to the state unemployment funds. But then PUA was put in place as part of the CARES Act, was initially for 39 weeks, and really to target those freelancers, contractors, independent workers that didn't have a regular paycheck. So the biggest challenge is to prove income because PUA is decided at either 50% of the maximum weekly benefit amount of the state or above that up to the maximum based on what income levels you can prove. So the challenge with the system has always been proving income and ensuring that it's not fraudulently taken advantage of, because initially when it first came out back in February or March when it was rolled up by states, it was very difficult for them to implement just because of how different it is from the regular UI system. But also a lot of fraud was apparent because the requirements of checking was so low. They were just more interested in getting the money out to people because the COVID pandemic was raging then. And so they rolled it out. There was a lot of fraudulent. Some reports say almost 10 to 15% of funds were paid to people who weren't eligible for it and who'd never worked or from overseas. So throughout the program, they kept on adding more constraints. And as part of the new extension that happened at the end of December, there's been a lot of new regulations put in place to check for documentation that these people truly had income and so that they can get this unemployment support. And that they have to make sure that the identity is validated so that you're not getting fraudulent claims. But either way, if you qualified for PUA before or after the extension, you are also eligible to get what was initially the $600 FPUC payment, which was back in March to July. And then what's now under the new appropriations bill is that it allows you to get $300 for 11 weeks from December 27th to March 13th. So it's important because the PUA, if you can't file a PUA claim to renew or restore your PUA claim, if you used it up, you won't even get the $300. So this is why these programs work together. But this is why a lot of PUA recipients are getting hurt. They should be ineligible from the week of December 27th to Jan 2nd. But a lot of people, as I record this video towards the end of January, are still waiting to get the PUA benefit in many states. And unfortunately, it's looking like it's still going to take several more weeks for it to be rolled out across all the states, and I'll touch on that as well. So I'm calling this a pandemic miss just because I think how badly this has gone. States knew this was coming, and yet they've had a big challenge rolling it out. And what I've really boiled it down to is three reasons. One is that there's over 5 million PUA recipients who are missing their benefits. There's a lot of claimants, a lot of people, and a lot of people, frustrated people. You can see the comments on many of my previous videos, and I'll post some here and also on my PUA article, which I'll post a link to in the description. People just don't know, and the states are giving very limited information. I'm trying to update the state tracker I have on the payouts, but all the states are mainly saying is they're updating the systems. They got the Department of Labor guidance, but because of the fact that they have such antiquated systems in several of the states. All of these systems were built in the 80s, 90s, were very much designed to support regular UI. So you showed your W-2, it was easy to validate your identity. They made payments to you, it's fixed for 26 weeks in most states, and they made payments. But with the PUA program, because it was hard to always validate income. There was many forms you could submit. There was a lot of fraud initially rampant, as I mentioned earlier. It's become challenging. With the new extension from December 27th, the legislation, the CEA Act, has actually put in very specific requirements for fraudulent checks and documentation requirements, which I'll touch on in the next section. Because what's happening now is that after Jan 31st, if you had an existing, if you're filing a new claim, you have to within 21 days show proof of income, and I'll show you which documents that means. Or if you have a continued claim, within 90 days, you have to provide evidence that that was a valid claim. So it can actually be even backward looking into 2019. So there's a lot of more requirements. And before they can roll this out to people, the states have to implement these changes to the systems. They can't say, we'll roll out the extended coverage and then do the changes. They have to do it at the same time. So until all these are done, they can't even open up the PUA system for extended coverage. Now, some states are better at this and some have done it and some are doing it in parallel. But a lot of states are basically saying until they get all the new extension requirements updated, they won't be able to open up the PUA system to file new claims or file continuing claims for those who've exhausted their benefits, right? So it's really this documentation requirements and this fraud check. And the fraud check is basically going to require a lot of these agencies, and all of them are using third-party providers like ID.me or something else that are requiring people to go and validate their identity. But they're saying that for any claims filed on or after January 26th, they have to have clear procedures for identity verification. And the Department of Labor and the states are going back and forth trying to figure out exactly what classifies that. It's not crystal clear. So they are working with sub-agencies. So you may see that when you're able to file a claim, you have to go identify your identity at another site, and then that'll connect to the state agency, then that'll allow you to submit the claim. So once the states can actually make all these changes for the documentation requirements and fraud checks, which is not a trivial matter, they'll start making these payouts under the pandemic unemployment assistance, which means you'll also get the $300. And I'll talk about some of the states and how they're going. Some states are good at giving information and updates for estimated implementation date, which then doesn't mean that'll be the payout date. But what I'm seeing is most of them who have these old systems who are struggling to make these updates are probably looking at restarting the PUA program for the extended period. Now, if you already had PUA coverage before or any other benefits and you had active weeks, you can still keep making claims in many states. But for those who need to use the extended weeks of coverage, they're just stuck and they're waiting for the state to update their system. So it's really important when states make these payouts because you'll get the extra unemployment through PUA plus the $300 payment, which is a big deal as well. So I just wanted to briefly touch on the documentation here, and every state is a little different. I want to be clear again. This is based on what I've got from other states. So you do need to check your state website to make sure that they're providing the right document. But it's basically you're trying to show your income. For self-employment, you need to make sure that you show your net income. That's net income of taxes because they want to make sure you're looking at your post-tax income. If you did happen to have regular employment, you can just show your W-2, which is the easiest form, which is essentially your employer should give you at the end of every year that shows your income and breaks down your taxes paid. If you have both, then you can provide both documents. If you have self-employment and a W-2, then provide both, and the state agencies will review it and make a determination. Again, you may be requested to submit documents multiple times, multiple documents to prove your income, and the checks will vary state to state and really depends, and you'll have a chance to appeal it if you don't agree. But what happens is if you submit it and they make a determination, they at least have to give you 50% of the state's weekly benefit amount. So if you're happy with that, that's fine. But if you want to make an appeal, they may ask for more documentation so that you get a higher benefit amount. So it's important that you have your documentation and you keep it. And some of the documentation, it's sort of in order of, I think, which will make this process the smoothest. One is you can submit your 2019 or 20 federal state tax returns. So it depends upon your filing year, right? So if you filed last year, you lost your job last year, you want to keep going through PUA, you need to show 2019. And if you're filing a new claim this year, then it'll be your 2020 tax returns if you've already submitted them. It just depends. Some people have submitted, some people haven't. So your tax return is probably your best document. It's the most complete and it can be validated the easiest. Your 1099 forms is what you should get from your third-party vendor or payer. They should give you a 1099 form to show income or payments they've made to you, especially from affiliate programs or online working, or if you're a contractor, you should be getting a 1099. Paycheck stubs, bank receipts are always good. If you are a self-employed person, you should have your ledgers, whether it's QuickBook or something, you can provide that as evidence to show you've been getting payments and payments out. And especially if you've been taking losses, if you don't have a loss, you even got the PPP program, you should have a lot of this stuff out there. Then you can start providing business records, invoices, and billing statements. So the more documents you can see, the more you can provide. What the agency is trying to establish is that you lost income due to COVID, and hence you qualify for PUA. So that's the important part. They're trying to prove that you had income that you lost due to COVID. That's why you're eligible for PUA and the supplementary payments. So you'll be able to load a lot of these documents through your state online portal once their systems are ready to accept this, and that's the key. Just don't go ahead and mail stuff or fax stuff. You have to wait till they send a notification to you that they've updated their systems to accept new or reactivating PUA claims. Some states are asking you to submit a new claim, some are saying reactivated, some are saying, just to wait and get more direction. You'll be able to provide these documents through mail or fax as well. I'll definitely say if you have the option to do it online, that's probably going to be the fastest and potentially the safest way. But you'll also have options to mail and fax these documents to your agency. But don't do it multiple ways. If you load it online, don't mail it as well, because it'll just delay things and they may start treating as two separate claims. But these documents are going to become very important, so keep track of your records if you haven't had them in the past. And again, as a reminder, so if you're doing a new application for PUA, you'll have 21 days to provide this documentation with the new application, or when the state agency notifies you that, hey, they need some documentation. And then for continued claims, they'll want it within 90 days of the application or when directed to submit the documentation. So if you extend your existing claim, you'll be required within 90 days to provide evidence that you should be getting the payments. Again, states will send you directions. Every state will give you their list of documents and which they will need for this, and it'll vary to an extent. I mean, this is probably going to be 80% of most states, but some will have some special exemptions or special things that they can do. I'm just going to now give a quick update on some of the states where we've seen challenges with PUA payments happening. And this is like I showed you in my other diagram. This is all tied together because to get the $300 payment, you need to be in either PUA or PEUC. I think the PEUC rollout is going faster because states have already got the systems updated to process regular UI, which is what PEUC extends. But PUA, being a whole program unto itself, has been a bit more challenging to get in place. So I'm just going to go through some of the states. I update this tracker regularly. You can see it at savingtoinvest.com/300 if you want to go check it out, and I'll put links in the description below. But you'll see some states like Alabama and Arizona have actually been among the fastest to pay people. They're actually going out to a lot of people. They've actually rolled out the 300 pretty early, and then paying it to all claimants and even those who have exhausted benefits in Alabama, which is pretty good to see. You can always click on the link for more information. Arkansas is a good example. They're behind, and I've got an update there, and they've started making some payments. But again, the part here is PUA claimants, those who have exhausted benefits, they still can't even file for extensions. And Arkansas ADWS is saying that they'll provide notices when they can make those claims. California is the other state, big state, a lot of people, a lot of questions. You can probably see a lot of information on California on this site and other places. But California started paying off the 300 pretty early for active claimants. But then those are, because they haven't rolled out the PUA and PUC fully yet, they started Jan 10th, but it's because there's so many people in California getting claims. They started doing it in Jan 10th, and they should have it done by the end of January. I'm still hearing people not being able to do it. And the main reason is because while the PUA system is now up and running to reactivate claims in California, the documentation requirements are providing a long time because the system may be running. You have to submit your documents, especially if you're doing a new claim, and then you have to go back and be able to actually, state has to approve that and then make payment. So that process is taking a while, and it's delaying things as well. Florida is just basically said they're paying out the existing 300 to existing claimants who have active weeks left. But if you've run out of benefits or you need to use the new extended coverage and get the 300 payments for those 11 weeks, if you're a PEUC or a PUA claimant, they haven't got their systems updated. And Florida has been notoriously bad. And again, the reputation continues. Again, you'll see this again in most states, and once in Georgia, once GOD will update systems, they will make payments, and that's an important part. So even if you don't get your claim until February or January, end of January or end of February, whenever they update their systems, you will be back paid for all the weeks that you are eligible. That includes the regular payments for under PUA, and then also the $300 payments. So don't worry, you'll still get your money eventually. It may take a while to get you, which doesn't help people who need the cash to make day-to-day bills. Say his states here, even Illinois, I'm hearing a lot of issues for people in Illinois who've PUA system for the extended weeks is not there. Again, this is saying here, this table is saying here that it's for the $300 payments. I'm looking at it from that lens, but it's actually saying that I know in Illinois the people who are on the PUA program are still struggling to recertify their claims and keep filing so they get the extra $300 payment. And you can keep scrolling down here. Maryland's actually pretty good. They've got it up there. Even Louisiana is getting there. Michigan is another state that you'll see the comment here that those who've exhausted their benefits are still having to wait while they update their systems. And so that's the theme you'll see. And again, you got to go check the state websites. I'll try and update this as often as I can. It's a lot of states to keep track of, but working with myself and my team to make sure we keep it up to date. New Jersey, this is a mess. Every rollout has been challenging, whether it's the original one, LWA, or this one. And they said they'll have it all paid out by the week of Jan 25th, which was a week from when they said they would. But I'm still hearing a lot of people who've exhausted the PUA claim not being able to get their recertify or reactivate the claim. They don't know if they have to do a new claim or, and they're also missing out on the $300 payments. So it's a lot of frustrating to a lot of people in New Jersey, and I have a whole video and all that on there, and you can see it on my channel as well. Ohio, Pennsylvania, again, updating systems. Those guys are getting there. I think they'll be about there by the end of January. Same with Pennsylvania. They've actually become a bit more efficient. I think they're now taking claims. So it's getting there. It's all taking some time because of this whole documentation and fraud checking requirements. So these states are doing it. So again, click on the links here. It has very state-specific pages where I provide more information on that specific state and where they are with the different programs. Texas is actually also updating their systems, and a lot of them are already in the process, and it's being done by different claimant groups. People who have active benefits, those who've exhausted their benefits, those who have to file a new claim. So it's all based on different groupings. So you may hear people in some states getting benefits, others are not, just because they're in different groups. Virginia is probably the other state that's struggling to get its systems updated. They said they should have the PUA and the PEUC system done by January 29th. I still think it'll take some time after that for them to process those claims, validate documentation, verify identities, and then they can start making payments. So it'll take some time. So that's a quick review of states. I would say probably about only maybe 1/3 of the states are actually processing the benefits, PUA benefits under the extended coverage period. Most are still trying to get the systems updated to be able to handle those new requirements that they're asking people to check. So you can come to this page. I'll put links below to see the latest information. Hopefully this was helpful. Leave a comment. I'll try getting back to you if I have any more information. Thanks. Bye.